Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Graphic Design is Fun podcast. My name's Dan. Wanted to start today's episode with a fun factoid for you guys. This is just an interesting factoid I came across recently. The word podcast. I never knew this. It's a portmanteau, which, by the way, side factoid. Portmanteau is a French word that means two words that were combined together to make one word. So podcast is a portmanteau of broadcast and iPod, which I thought was pretty neat because it's just surprising, how like podcasting now is such a big medium, and yet its name comes from this one specific Apple product that they don't even make anymore. And you can listen to podcasts on, you don't have to listen to it on an iPod, but that's where its name comes from. Anyway, now that factoid's out of the way, today we're talking with Phoebe Todd-Parrish, who is a fellow Torontonian and a printmaker. She runs her own printing and letterpress studio here in Toronto, and she makes really cool stuff. And I thought it would make for an interesting conversation, something a little bit different, learn a little bit about some history. She uses these old printing presses from the early 1900s. So it's something a bit different, a look into the past, if you will. It was a blast talking to Phoebe. She's a ton of fun, really cool person. Yeah, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Phoebe Todd-Parrish. Also, so your name is pronounced Phoebe Todd-Parrish.
Yeah, just like the character from Friends.
Oh, I haven't seen Friends.
What?
I didn't even know there was someone named Phoebe.
Yeah, Phoebe, Rachel, and Monica.
Yeah, okay, that sounds familiar. Cool. Okay, well, I really know nothing about any of this. So apologies if I ask some like really dumb questions, but I just find it so fascinating because it's like such a world that's so like seemingly like there's a lot of kind of overlap, and like I feel like you probably follow some graphic designers on Instagram or graphic designers follow you, but it's like I've never touched a printing press in my life, so I guess I'll just start by asking like what is it exactly that you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I was like, does Dan really want me on this podcast? Like, I'm not a designer,
Well,
but like,
yeah, but I think it's so cool because it's just a little bit different, and I think a lot of people who are in graphic design, like they want to learn about things like the history or like other kind of more analog tools. It's so yeah, it's cool, and it's like it's not like what you're doing is totally in a different realm. It's like it's type and color, and you know what I mean. You're creating images, so
yeah.
yeah, I of course I want you on this podcast.
Okay, so what do I do? Well, I guess like it's easiest to talk about like chronologically. I went to school, my undergrad for fine arts, and then I took a printmaking class, which was actually lithography, which is like more image based, obviously. But then, yeah, just started taking lots of printmaking classes. And I guess what I liked about it was like the process of making things. I was never like that into, I mean, I liked drawing. I never liked painting, but then I just liked, I guess like with any printmaking, there's like a lot of constraints, which maybe there's some similarities there with like other, all types of design. And so I liked that. And then I also was really interested in English and just language. And I just, yeah, letter
Oh,
form.
interesting.
And then, yeah, so I combined those two things. I did a master's degree in English, and then I did an MFA in printmaking at the University of Alberta. And I never saw any letterpress stuff, except that at Pioneer Village.
What is that?
It's funny, I just was talking about Pioneer Village. I'm not obsessed with Pioneer Village, but it's in so I went to school at York, and Pioneer Village is like it's basically next to York, but it's just like this, it's weird. They've like brought all these like pioneer buildings there and like recreated
Oh,
this this town or
Right. And
whatever.
people dress up like in old-fashioned clothes and stuff.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
they also have a printing office,
Oh,
with like at the time there was like an old guy with a beard who like did all these little cuts for them, and but then there was like just the staff. They just trained them to like use the machines there. Um, anyway, maybe that was the first time I saw any sort of letterpress thing. But
cool.
then I just like started volunteering to learn it at another print shop in Edmonton. And yeah, then I just like really got into letterpress because it was kind of that combination of like type, but I wasn't really a designer, but I just loved type and the physical things. And then also it was like printmaking, just like the process part of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny that what was it called? Pioneer Village. Just like this
Mhm.
this random shop actually like inspired your whole career. Maybe not really, but a little bit. Um, so when you were doing your fine arts degree, there was no you didn't quite know what exactly that was going to be, if it was like what your focus was going to be there.
No, and I thought it was just I wanted to go to school for English, but then like just English literature, but then my dad worked at York, so he was like, "You have to go to York." So I was like, "If I have to go to York, I'm gonna take some art classes," and then that was really just like just kept going. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But now I teach at Sheridan and OCAD, like sessional printmaking. So
Wait, so yeah, okay, so then I guess my question is, how do you go from being interested in this kind of stuff
mhm.
to actually making like money doing any of it, or having your own studio, or like all, because I feel like I mean, how much does it even cost to like buy one of these like I feel like, how do you get into that? It seems hard.
Yes. It's definitely a lot of luck and a privilege for sure. Like I share a studio space with my godfather, who is an artist, but used to be like a ceramicist. And he's been renting this space like in Toronto for like the past 25 years. So basically, over time, like he was always encouraging me to do art stuff, and so he would be like, okay, here's your little corner of the studio. And it was just nice. I always had a space, like probably since I started my undergrad, like I had some sort of tiny bit of the studio. And it's
Right.
just, as he spends less time here, I spend more time, and I just like kind of accumulate things. Uh, it's definitely like uh, uh slow slow building. Like I probably bought my first press like 8 years ago, which is really not that long ago, I suppose. But um I like thrifting, so that's a good quality to have, I
Right,
guess.
because yeah, there's all these different kinds of presses that you have. I
Yeah.
was looking on your website, and it's like all like small ones, big ones for different purposes. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know what I'm asking here, but like, yeah. So what's the purpose of all these ones? And then obviously, like the big one with the wheel, that's like
Yeah.
the letterpress, or like, and then the
Yeah.
other ones are also letterpresses but different, or
So if like you want to be really technical and old school about it, they're all presses, but some of them do letterpress printing.
okay.
So that's like but whatever, it doesn't really matter.
No, but I want to like, I guess, understand the terms, because man,
Yeah.
there's a lot of also I saw your reel that was like um how to make I don't know, it was just like how to make like a globity do. You put the shlim shlam in the, like, it was all these like nonsense words, but then I'm looking through the rest of your page, and to me it's actually all the same, because I don't know what any of the real words mean either.
Yeah, I think it was like a sound from Rick and Morty, but it was so perfect because
Yeah,
yeah, like I mean, I teach students how to make those plates.
right.
Like at OCAD, they have a lot of letterpress stuff, which is awesome, and they have a plate maker and whatnot. Not many schools have that I've worked at anyway. But it's definitely like complete nonsense word. Like it's very, very technical, I guess. But then once you make it, it's like it's just another applied thing that you just follow the steps and it's done. But but obviously there's a lot of troubleshooting. But yeah, so there's a lot of presses in here. They all have various pros and cons. So like depending on what it is you're printing, you would use one or over the other. Like the one like right here behind me, that's like a cylinder press. So it's the bed where you put the type or whatever it is you're printing is horizontal, instead of the one that you're talking about with the wheel. That's a platen press. So that you have to be able to like pick up this chase, which has all the type locked up, and put it in vertically to the press. So it's a bit more complicated. So like if you encounter a letterpress at school, it's usually a cylinder press because they're less dangerous, but they're also like more idiot proof, I guess.
Right.
I shouldn't say idiot proof.
How is it dangerous? Like, what's the danger?
Well, with the platen press, like you're hand feeding the paper, and it's a 1,000-pound cast iron machine.
Right.
So you
right, because you're like actively you're pressing the pedal with your foot, and you're putting your hand in and in to the machine as you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So there's this like moment where it's opening and closing. The platen is closing against the type or the form, whatever you're printing. And there's this moment where you have to like take the paper out that you've already printed on and then put in the new paper. And then it closes again. So it is like, it's a dance, I guess.
Oh,
wow. But like, if you go further down the rabbit hole, like that machine is from like the early 1900s. This one behind me here, the cylinder press I was talking about, is from like, it's mid-century baby. It's from like the 60s. Okay. But you might also see like in bigger print shops, they would have like Heidelberg windmills, which are platen presses, but they have like these sucky arms that instead of you putting your hand in front of the platen, there's like a sucky arm that picks up the paper and puts it in
for you.
Yes. So they this is a very like old, inefficient way of
yeah. But even then, like 1900s isn't that old in like the grand scheme of printing, right? Yeah. Like, does anyone use machines? Well, like, are there even machines that still work that are made in like the 1500s or 1600s or something?
Yeah, I mean, like old, like if you I guess if you had to take like the history of type design, you probably learned about like Gutenberg and like, seeing a Gutenberg press, which is a different style of press where it's again like flat and the platen kind of, but it's almost more like a panini situation where you have like this thing that like comes and squishes the paper down onto the type. So yeah, there are places that still use that. There aren't like people aren't using that for any real commercial means that I would guess. Like I'm not, all the letterpress people that I know. The places that still use that style of press would be like more for educational purposes.
Right.
But you can certainly still print anything on them. Like, it's just slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slower than your new modern machine from 1900.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the only one with an on switch as well.
Okay.
Like this has a plug.
Wow.
So the 60s electricity.
Wow. That stuff's so cool. And I feel like, like it's a whole world. You learn about the process, but there's also this whole history to it. And like, all of it is so fascinating. Yeah. So with your studio, Flycatcher Press, and kind of like in general your work, like from what I see, it feels like you do lots of different things, and like you sort of have different streams of income, you could say. So like what are all the different things that you make and things that you do? And I know you do some teaching, and like can you talk a bit about all those things that you do?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess there are different paths to making a business out of letterpress, but I would, I'm definitely still suffering from like imposter syndrome in many. It's like you're not designer enough for the designer kids, but you're not like arty enough for the art kids.
Oh, really? Wow.
Or whatever. Wow. I don't know. Because I definitely do have like my hands in many pots kind of thing. But yeah, I teach, so that's like, regular paycheck. That's what's I'm semi-regular. I can't, how
Yeah.
regular is your contract uh faculty, but it's good, like the places that I'm at right now. It's once you kind of get your foot in the door, then it gets a bit easier. But yeah, it's still contract to contract there. But it's nice because it's also flexible in that way, right? Like and then I have kind of like, yeah, Flycatcher Press, which is I make my own work and I sell prints. And so I sell like the prints of like linocut prints and screen prints of my own work. I guess they're pretty much all Toronto diner kind of
Yeah, I was
theme.
gonna say I love the diners.
Yeah. And that started during the pandemic. It was just kind of like a thing. I just made one and then people really liked it. And I started with the diner that was like closest to the studio. And I just was spending all this time there. And I guess I just like old stuff, like, sort of nostalgic things.
Yeah,
Um,
it's shocking.
and so exactly. And so, but then people liked it, and it's I don't know, it just became a way to like be creative, but also I knew that people were interested in them, and because it was like they were all this subject matter that people who buy those prints are like, they have a connection to that place, which I really liked.
Yeah.
So it was fun for me, but it was also like I was selling prints. So, and rather than just having like, the conundrum of print is that like everything, it is so massively process based that you need to make more than one for there to be a purpose to
Right.
carving a block, spending 10 hours carving a block. Like you gotta get some out.
Wow, it takes that long for one of
Yeah,
those like oh, okay, wow.
a little like 8 by 10. Yeah. Yeah. Whereas so it was nice to like not just have a drawer full of prints no one wanted, right? So I just kept making them and I still enjoy making them. And so there's that kind of thing. And then I guess I started I started collecting type for letterpress, and I made books and things like that, like artist books, but I just wanted to find more ways to use it, I guess. So I started making cards, and making cards is not like financially like, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it unless like
Oh, okay.
unless you're like, you got to sell so many because people don't want to pay more than like $6, $7 for a card. So you really have to like be into wholesaling and
Right.
your stuff that way. But
And these are like birthday cards and kind of things that
yeah,
and then they like end up in like shops around Toronto and people buy them. Yeah.
correct. Yes. And like I have some local shops in Toronto that do stock my cards, but I just like didn't have the mental energy to like chase wholesalers across the world kind of thing. But
Right.
like for people who do, then I can see making, because I love a handmade card. I don't know. I'm a card person, obviously. But yeah, so respect. But it's just kind of something that I started to do because it was fun to design with the type, to actually use the type rather than just like stare at it in the
Right.
drawer. And then because I guess maybe I started doing that, I started like offering more like custom printing. So that has become more of a thing, I guess. So
Like
printing,
commissions?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like mostly wedding stationery. If you
Right.
look at a letterpress studio today, probably what they're doing is wedding stationery, like business cards. I don't do very many business cards. I don't know why. Like, I guess just, yeah, I don't know why. But and some of those things, it's like people have a design and maybe they design it themselves and it's like really simple, but with letterpress just looks so beautiful. And so I'm happy to print for
Right.
people who just design their own letterpress or they just design their own invitation.
Hmm.
I decided like maybe after like one or two jobs of like printing for like a designer who had a client that I didn't want to like be the printer in that situation. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Because it just wasn't going well.
Well, it was like there was no connection between me and the person who's actually like receiving the print.
I see.
Like I was just like this behind the scenes like work person.
Mm.
um, which I just didn't like because I felt
Yeah.
like the now it's nice if like someone can come and see the studio and we can like talk about the samples in real life and I can like give them pieces of paper and it's just much better. And I think that the people understand the process so they like understand what they're paying for rather than someone who where I'm like an invisible thing and like this beautiful object just shows up at their door and they
Yeah,
don't,
yeah, that makes sense.
you know?
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Did
Huh.
that answer your question at all?
I don't even remember which question we were on there, but yeah, definitely. Um, well, I guess the question of like all the different ways in which like you kind of have made this a career, like teaching and making things and
Yeah.
doing some commissions, maybe not, some maybe no business cards, different things like that. Um, it's interesting that you say the imposter syndrome thing because your stuff's really cool, and I feel like there's like a letterpress community. I feel like where there's like
Oh yeah.
different, there's it's not obviously like a huge thing. There's only a handful of people. There's probably not that many people in like Toronto who do this. Like, are there like two or three other studios, or not even that?
There are like a few that I kind of have seen on my radar, but I don't know them very well, like in Toronto proper. But I have two like letterpress peeps in Hamilton, and
Okay, yeah.
there's definitely some people like in Oakville, Grimsby. Uh, yeah, there's like there's usually like one in every town.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
If you like wherever you happen to be, if you just Google like
Mhm.
letterpress, you know.
Well, that's what I did actually because I did one of these episodes with Aaron Draplin, and
Mhm.
he makes these field notes
Yep.
notebooks, and he did it like in a special edition that was like letterpress edition,
Yeah,
and
I
he
have
there.
some of them. They're really cool.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Yeah. So, and they shot this whole like kind of like little video to go along with it, like a little mini documentary, and they went to these different. Have you seen this? Do
I
you know what I'm
haven't seen
talking
the
about?
video.
Oh,
No,
it's
that's
really
cool.
cool.
Okay,
And
cool.
I think they go to like a letterpress shop in like Boston and like Chicago and different spots. And so I just Googled letterpress Toronto because I was curious. And then I saw your thing and I followed you on Instagram.
Ah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm here. Like I guess I've it's funny, like this is just a side note, but went to Australia like the year before the pandemic. I was living in Australia, my partner got a job there, and I didn't know what to do. I like just graduated from my MFA
Wait, the
and
year before the pandemic, you were living in Australia.
yes, yeah,
Oh, so
in
you weren't. Oh, I thought you've had this studio in Toronto for like 5 6 years. Like,
well, I
no.
have. It's
Oh, I
been
see. Because it's your godfather's. You said, or
yes. So
right, right. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
yeah, I'm pretty much screwed if I ever have to leave because all of these things
Right.
weigh 1,000 pounds. So
Anyway, sorry. Go on with
um,
your story.
um, but when I went to Australia, we were in Perth, which is the most isolated city on earth in terms of its distance from other capital cities. And it's also the furthest point on land from Toronto, which is fun.
Whoa. Wow, that's cool. Okay.
So it was really far away. But anyway, but I did just Google like letterpress because I was like, okay, I have time. Like, I don't have a job. Like, I can only get like with my working holiday visa, I could like only get a hospitality job kind of thing. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't have a studio space. I don't have anything here. So I just reached out to like a bunch of letterpress people, and I was just like email people, and then my friend Anne, who coincidentally it all comes back to Pioneer Village, like has a shop that's kind of like in this heritage park within a provincial park. So her studio is really crazy. Like she basically bought it from an older letterpress printer dude who um had all the stuff and various states of usefulness.
Right.
But she's like a commercial printer and now has like started, so which means she just like prints a lot for other people,
Right,
but has
right.
also like kind of been developing her own stuff. But yeah, basically I just like hung out with her for like a couple of months, which I think also just like solidified my interest in letterpress.
Yeah.
And it was cool to like see someone who maybe came at it from like a commercial side of things like first, but then like developed this kind of like eye for the design part of it as
Right.
well. I don't know. Yeah.
Cause so you wouldn't consider yourself a commercial printer. For you, it's more like, or like, what's the difference there? Like you're, because it's you're designing the stuff yourself, and it's more like all your thing. Whereas
Yeah.
with her, it was more like kind of what you were talking about. She would work with a designer, and she prints the stuff.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know whether these are the real terms that people use. This is in my brain how I function. But yeah, so I'm happy to print other people who come to me with designs that they've made, like as long as we can just talk about it. Because with letterpress, like I don't know if you've ever like had anything that you've designed printed with letterpress.
No, not with letterpress. No.
Because like there's lots of well, like any print, there's like specific things that it can and can't do, and things that it does
Yeah.
well, not well. Um, so that's why also it's always better to just like directly talk to someone who kind of like gets it or is open to changing things.
Right.
Unless you design it yourself, of course, and then you can just like ensure that it's like the most beautiful thing it could be,
Yeah.
what they want.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, wait, did that answer the question? Was there a question?
No, that answers the question. Yeah. No, it's just interesting that even like within people who do letterpress printing, there
Yeah.
are even kind of different types of, or sort of different ways that you can go about that. Just sort of uh like sub niche within a niche. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I think like yeah, and now I have other like I have a guy I did my undergrad with is also like a commercial printer, but in like a really it's like a trade. It's like but they're like it's like a really fancy cabinet maker. Like you really pride yourself on making the most beautiful
Yeah.
impression. Like all these little things. So yeah, it's like a creative trade. Yeah, it
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, it just sounds so much fun. Sounds but like way more fun than anything I do. Just because I feel like I'm not alone in the feeling of it's a real shame that so much of graphic design is on a computer now.
Mhm.
Like I still enjoy it. It's creative and it makes you think and stuff. But I wonder if I would just be loving my life 10 times more if I was doing this like a few years ago, or whatever, decades ago. And you know what I mean? It was just so much more analog and physical. And like you watch these old videos and it's like, oh man, like this just looks way more fun.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
get to do
literally
that.
before before this conversation, my mother Zoom called me or FaceTime me or whatever, and she was like, "Do you want these books? Like these old like my mom was a graphic designer. She worked at Now Magazine,
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
and yeah, and she. I mean, I guess like there are lots of things that like influence you that you kind of don't realize until you're like, oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Um, but like I remember as a kid, she had like this beautiful like drafting table with all these like compartments, and then she had
Yeah.
all this old letter set, and I was like, "What is this? This is
Yeah.
amazing!" Um, and at some point, she gave me some of it, but I feel like she still has like a secret hoard. But oh, she just like always like laments. She's retired now, she's in her
Mhm.
70s, but like laments when her job was like physically measuring things and
Yeah.
like using Letraset to do a layout and um yeah, it definitely seems like it could be more fun. But I do feel like I've always talked about I have a couple like design friends who are like I'm always talking about we should do a workshop like letterpress for designers or something. I don't know. Just don't know what it would be. So
Yeah, you should do something like that. Because there's for sure there's tons of well, for myself, but probably lots of other people who are into graphic design who just have never really been exposed to any kind of like um anything like this, like actually printing something yourself and not just like sending it off to the printer and then it just happens, you know?
yeah.
And I think I would expect that a lot of people would, if they were exposed to it and maybe had like a nice workshop or the right kind of introduction, it would really, they'd really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I'm just
totally.
talking about myself. I think I would.
No, but I think it's true. Like even I had well, another thing I sometimes do is workshop. I do workshops here. I don't have like I wish I could do more, but because with teaching, it's a lot. But in the summertime, hopefully.
Yeah.
Uh, but I did do like a workshop in the fall just for another like a small design company here in Toronto. It was like their staff party, which was really cute. They like
Oh, that's fun.
6 people. Um, but yeah, it was kind of that. Like they, obviously mostly do digital. And so I think kind of like the owner of the company was just like, I think it'd be really cool for my team to like come and set some type. So they like typeset their Christmas card, their holiday card, whatever.
Mhm. Very cool.
But it was funny, like they had like one of them was obviously doing the social media, so they're very into like taking the videos and
Right,
not
right.
like we don't really care about the print.
Fair
Um,
enough.
yeah.
Actually, you're really good with your social media. I feel like
Uh,
you have a nice. Did you say no?
I said, oh.
No, I feel like it's fun. Like you do a great job. I feel like of it's sort of like okay, well, I probably have to do some of this because this is just gonna help. You know what I mean? Like you just have to. It sucks, but you just
Yeah.
Um, but you make it fun. You're good at it, and like I've been enjoying going through your reels and videos and stuff and watching them. It's cool.
Thank you. I mean, occasionally, like, I feel like I try not to consume too much, but you do also have to like consume a certain amount to like be good
Right.
at
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I was thinking
No?
that exact thing because
Yeah.
when I was watching your reels and I was like, I don't even watch enough to know that these audios exist that I could
Yeah.
use in a thing. And then I'm like, well, should I do that so that I would know how to do this, but which I don't want to do. And I try really hard not to
Yeah.
consume like really any social media.
Yeah.
But but then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just slowly gonna become out of touch with like what's going on, and then if I want to participate, I don't know how. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. But
No, it's weird though. Like my partner's like not into social media, but like recently, deleted Twitter and
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
in an attempt to be better at real life. Um, but then like they were just watching this thing on their phone, and it was I was like, is that TikTok? And it wasn't. It was like a YouTube short or something. And I was like, everything just looks like TikTok.
Well, I
I
know,
don't
yeah, I know. It's bad. It's so frightening
even
because
Spotify kind of looks like TikTok. Like
no,
there's
yeah, everything. I think all. Oh, but oh my God, I don't know. It just freaks me out. And I think the thing to me that scares me the most about TikTok, well, like on YouTube, you would
yeah.
have like a clickbait title, and that would make you think, oh, maybe I'll click on this video. But TikTok's even worse, or Instagram thing, or YouTube, because it just starts playing. You don't even get to choose; it just happens. And anyway, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I like your reels; they're fun.
Thank you. I tried to engage the right amount.
Yeah, yeah. There's art to that for sure. Like doing it where you don't lose your soul, but still get the benefits from it. And it's just, it can be fun and social, done the right way, I think. But
But I often find like sometimes I'll go a long period where I don't post anything and I'll like get lots of followers and then I'll post something, I'll just be like, oh, I'm just losing followers. Maybe people don't really like seeing me. They just like the idea
that
of
is funny. Yeah. No, I've actually thought that too. Like sometimes I'll put up an Instagram story and I'll just note the number of followers that I have, and then I'll be like, yeah, someone unfollowed me. Somebody saw that and was like, why am I even who is this guy? And then yeah. Anyway.
I think that's it. It's like people remember to unfollow you when you
Yeah,
post.
exactly. Yeah. Um, but no, okay, cool. Well, I think I don't know. I went through all my questions, so
Yeah, and because I briefly stalked your website also. You're from Moncton?
yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm from Moncton, New Brunswick.
When did you move to Toronto?
Well, I went to Guelph for school, and so that was while ago, 2015.
Mhm.
And then I kind of have more or less hung around Toronto since then.
More or less around
Well,
Toronto.
like I've more or less been in Toronto. I mean, I briefly lived in Vancouver, but
Okay.
yeah.
But discovered that Vancouver sucked.
No, I like Vancouver a lot. It was really nice. But all my most of like my friends are in like the GTA. So, well, that's not the only reason, but it's nice. Also, my like girlfriend's family is here and stuff. So,
Nice. Well, you're
yeah,
welcome to visit the studio anytime.
yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
I maybe I will. Also, I
Yeah.
think my girlfriend would love it. She likes that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She does more of this kind of stuff than I do. Like she'll do like cool crafts and stuff like that. And I think she would like it. So
Cool.
maybe we'll
Yeah.
check it out.
You could think about how we could do a design centered letterpress for designers.
Oh, yeah,
Let me.
let's do it. We'll make a workshop. That's sick. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thanks for chatting. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Graphic Design is Fun podcast. If you want to support the show, you can share it with your friends, share it with your coworkers. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can leave a 5-star review. Any of those things helps a ton. Really appreciate it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Oh, and you can follow on Instagram at Graphic Design is Fun. Yeah.